Second video, I'm going to talk to you through about this, about the main text of the panel. So, see here we've got 1 Corinthians 11 open, and on the right hand side we've got the Greek, and the left hand side we've got the English. So, what you notice when you hover over a word here in the Greek, the equivalent word is highlighted in English and works the same way around as well. So, it helps you to start to connect words in the original language with the English words and start to help you to understand what they look like and where they're used and things like that. It also helps you to notice if a word is used a lot. So in this example, the word head earlier in the chapter is used a lot. So you might realize that when you read it, maybe you don't. But if you hover over the word head, you notice, oh, this word head comes up a lot. So there's obviously something that's going on in this passage that's about head. The other thing that I find useful, probably the most useful thing, is for noticing when the same word is used, but it's translated different things. So if you're reading these verses here, he that eateth and drinketh unworthily eateth and drinketh damnation to himself, not discerning the Lord's body. And then it goes on to say, if we judge ourselves, verse 31, we should not be judged. In the King James at least, those two words, the word discerning and the word judging, are translated differently. So you wouldn't necessarily connect those two ideas because it seems that one's talking about discernment, the other's talking about judging. Maybe you don't realise that those are connected. When you look here and you hover over one, you realise, oh, that's actually the same word that's being used later on about being judging ourselves. So helps you to see, oh, there's a connection here which perhaps I hadn't appreciated before. So that was also useful. I find useful anyway. And then going a step on from that, not just hovering these words, but we can also click on these words. So if I click on that word, discerning or judge word, on the right hand side I get some details about that word. So I get the Strong's number, I get the spelling of the root word, I get a transliteration diacrino. I get some root words. So these root words are based on what Strong's says. Strong says this word is derived from these two words down here. And you can click on these and it will search for those two words. So this is another word about judging. And we also get branches. So the branches are words of which this is the root. Now this is usually quite hard to find. If you just have a Strong's Concordance, there's not really any way to find this. And I haven't come across any software which enables you to find this. So this is a kind of unique feature. So we click on this, say G1253, and it's diakrisis. So this is another word which is very similar to the word we're looking at, and can be useful to help us to understand this idea of discernment. And obviously, when you do that, you can kind of build up a whole tree, and there's a lot more work to be done here that I haven't started yet about visualizing these trees and seeing how words are connected and things like that. After that we get a morphology. So the morphology is word specific. So the morphology of this word here, this discerning, if I click on it, will be this here, verb, present, active, participle, nominative, singular, masculine, whereas the morphology of this word will be different, so it changes as you click on them. Also, if you just leave your mouse hovered over the word, that comes up on it as well. So that can be useful in helping to understand what part of speech this word is, what part of the sentence it is, if it's past or future, if it's masculine or feminine, first person or second person or third person, all those things. They help you to understand if the translation is correct and what that word means and how we should understand it. Then we get the King James translations. So this just kind of gives us a quick overview of all the different ways this word is used in the King James. Obviously, none of them may be correct. All of the translations may be wrong, and obviously it's translated some things a lot more than others, but it just gives you a quick overview. Also, you can click on these, so if you wonder where is this word translated contend, if I click on contend, it will do that search for me and find the two places where that Strong's number is translated contend, so that can be useful. Strong's derivation I talked about, that's where these come from. We have to exercise some caution with this. This is just Strong's opinion. And it's definitely not always right, and definitely not always helpful. So that's some data we have to use, but we should use our judgment. We should use our discernment when looking at those numbers, and don't just believe everything Mr. Strong says. And then we have probably the most useful part of this section, the section I use the most. The other places where this same Strong's number is used, because there's 19 of them here. And by clicking on these, we can go straight to that passage and see the context in which the word is used, which is valuable because as we start to look at these different contexts, we realise we can build up a picture of the kind of semantic field of this word and the different places it's used. You can navigate this with your keyboard as well. So if you use the plus and minus keys, it moves you back and forward in that list. So that enables you to flick through these passages really quickly and build up a really quick picture of the different uses of the word. And we have also this expand button, which gives us a really quick overview. You can just read through this list and just read the verse. It's obviously better to have the context, but if you just want to do a quick look through, you've got that there. The other thing that this is really useful for is this can help surface other words which are common. So you can just hover over words in these verses, and if a word pops up, so the word faith there, that's interesting. The word faith has come up in Romans 4 and 14 and James 1 a couple of times. So maybe there's some connection between this idea of discerning and faith. That I'm not saying there is, I'm just saying that they can help you make those kind of serendipitous discoveries. And sometimes you might do this and you see, the word comes up a million times, so maybe it's just a really common word. But if you then look at it and you think, it's actually not a common word, there's obviously a strong connection between these words, and there's a theme that you can start to look into. And it's hopefully helping you to discover things sort of by accident, or not necessarily, but making it easier to discover things that are otherwise hard to find. So that's a quick summary of that section.